Hello, everyone. Welcome to the afternoon session of the SeptembRSE day of, this is the worldwide, RSE Worldwide day of SeptembRSE. Thank you very much to all those that have come back, that joined us in the morning session. It's good to have you back. And hello to those that have joined us from Shanghai and other places around the world. I see France and places. So thank you very much for all joining. And I think we're just going to start with a quick video that have been submitted by people for the lightning talks. So yeah, if we could play the video, that'd be great.
Hi, my name is Sandra Gesing. I'm a senior scientist at the Discovery Partner Institute at the University of Illinois, Chicago. And I'm the co-chair of the steering committee of the US RSE. I'm excited to be a co-chair with Shashank Harvey and Gareth Jones of the RSE Worldwide initiatives of the SeptembRSE conference. The International Day will take place on September 22nd, and we will have representation of at least 7 RSE chapters, which is exciting, from down under, from Australia and New Zealand to the UK to Europe, with Germany, the Netherlands, Nordic RSE and US RSE and Canada. The program includes 2 panels. One topic is about lessons and challenges of promoting the cause of RSE. And the topic of the other one is decided by participants and by audience. So if you contact us until September 14th, you can suggest topics. And the chapters have prepared short videos of 2 to 3 minutes. You can watch at the Worldwide booth, which will be shown before each panel. So we know, of course, that there is a challenge with the time zones, because SeptembRSE takes place during the UK time in the morning and the afternoon. So we will record also the panels and the sessions so that you can watch it asynchronously. And we are looking forward to seeing you at the International Day to lively discussion. Thanks. Bye.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jan Dietrich from the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research in Germany and one of the founding members of the RSE Society. And I'm here to give you a brief update of the status of the German chapter. For those of you who don't know us yet, here's some info, some milestones we had. So the RSE was founded in 2016 as a follow-up to the UK RSE conference this year. Then in 2018, we were able to register as a charitable society in Germany as the RSE Verein. In 2019, we had the first German RSE conference in Potsdam with around 200 participants. And in May 2020, we were able to publish the first position paper of the RSE Society with the topic of sustainable research software in Germany and beyond. So currently we have in Germany 4 regional chapters. The society has currently around 15 paying members, but overall the community is much bigger, with around 550 subscribers at the moment on the RSE mailing list, as well as 800 followers on the Twitter channel. Main topics at the moment are twofold. On one hand, it's basically bringing RSE on the national agenda in Germany. This happens, for instance, in the context of the building of a national research data infrastructure in Germany, as well as in trying to bring the software topic into different guidelines, such as the DFG guidelines on good scientific practice, which now focus much more on software as they did before. And the other topic is mapping and linking the German RSE community, which is at the moment still quite fragmented. So that means on one hand, surveying what's there, trying to understand where are the RSE sitting and what are they doing. And the other thing is bringing them together in different meetings. So for instance, we had this year the first DERC group leader meeting, and there are the regional chapter meetings. In terms of conferences, there won't be a dedicated DERC conference in the next time, but there will be a dedicated RSE track on the Software Engineering Conference 22 in Germany, and more information about this is also coming soon. So thanks, everyone. So please get in contact with us if we are happy to hear from you. Bye.
Hi, my name is Carlos Martinez. I'm here on behalf of the Dutch Research Software Engineering chapter, NLRSC, and I want to talk to you about the activities that we do in our chapter. So, in the beginning, NLRSC was founded in April 2017. It was initially sponsored by the Netherlands Design Center and by ePlan. And we have a core team of volunteers who organizes all the activities of our network. At the moment, we have more than 200 members from over 30 institutes across the Netherlands, from the south in Maastricht all the way to the north in Groningen. And with the Netherlands being a small country, that means that people can connect quite easily and commute easily for events organized at any venue. Some of our activities, we have a monthly newsletter. We have regular meetups, which are aimed for RSEs to share their expertise and network with each other, and which cover very diverse topics ranging from legal aspects of open science, for example, and to more technical topics such as using Jupyter notebooks for reproducible research. And in 2019, we organized our first NLRSC conference. Upcoming events, we have our first roadshow event coming on the 14th of October, which is a distributed event where many local venues will connect to central content, and we will launch our new website then. And we have also the elections of our core team coming up in November, the results being published in December, and the new core team will take office from January next year. And if you want to reach out to us, you can find information about our meetups in our website, and you can reach out to the core team by email, and you can also find us on Twitter. Thank you.
The Nordic Research Software Engineer Association, tada! We are now officially an association. Well, it will be effective in October 2021. Here is a website where you can see all our activities, and you can follow us on Twitter. The list of official members from the board, and of course, some activities. We will participate to the Worldwide RSE survey in 2021. If you want to contribute to our blog series, you can contact us. And do not miss out any of the upcoming events. We have a weekly virtual RSE coffee break, very informal meetings every Thursday morning at 9 CET. We have bi-weekly virtual Nordic RSE meetings where we discuss about RSE association and the activities. We have also bi-weekly research software hours. This is live stream, and we have this is really an online stream about scientific computing and research software. This is very informal every 2 weeks, and we explore new tools. This is super nice if you want to contribute. We have monthly research software seminar series. This is much longer, and we have started from August 2021. We can go in depth with some subjects and some topics. If you want to contribute, just let us know. And we will, of course, organize and be part of this upcoming International RSE Day in October on the 14th. We have officially a Nordic RSE YouTube channel where you can find all the recordings of all the talks and all the research software hours and the seminar series you may have missed. And of course, talk to us, and you can join the community with a code refile noise to live chat. Thank you, and see you soon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ian Costin, and on behalf of the USRSE Steering Committee and the entire organization, I'm here just to give a brief overview of USRSE and highlight what we've been up to recently. So we're a community-driven organization with individual members who broadly come from one of these three groups. So RSEs themselves, people interested in RSE careers, and those who consider themselves RSE allies. We have a four-pronged mission focused on building a community of these professionals, advocating for the increasingly important role that RSCs play in research ecosystem, providing a variety of resources to a number of different groups, and actively working to improve diversity within our profession. So while we're focused on the US and organize events in US-friendly time zones, we certainly welcome the participation of anyone from the international community, free to join and participate. When you join, you subscribe to our bi-monthly newsletter, get an invitation to join our Slack workspace where most of the discussion happens. And we enthusiastically encourage new channel creation around whatever topics might be of interest. We have a few more formal internal working groups that have formed, focused on RSE education and training, a group redesigning the USRSE website, and a DEI specific working group. New groups are welcome to form. These have all started as a result of a small group of like-minded people interested in the same topics. So, posted a number of events already this year, including a career symposium, which you can find on our YouTube channel, a panel at the PERC 21 conference. So as I mentioned, the DEI working group has initiated this new speaker series with quarterly presentations from distinguished speakers on the topic. Hosted our second annual workshop in May, complete with talks, breakout sessions, all captured on our YouTube channel. You can go see what we were talking about. We have monthly community calls on topics that have been voted on by the community. The recordings aren't public, they're unlisted. You can find them on Slack in case you missed it. New this year, we have an official fiscal sponsor with the Open Collective Foundation that allows us to operate as a financial entity within OCF. So for the rest of this year and next year, we'll be busy continuing to raise awareness both of USRSE, but maybe more importantly and more generally, the RSE role. We'll continue our community calls. We'll have our annual general meeting in early December, where we'll get to meet candidates for our steering committee and have our formal election shortly thereafter. So thanks very much for your time, attention, a special thanks to the organizers, and I look forward to the panel discussion soon.
Hello, my name is Marianne Weinzier, and I'm a trustee of the Society of Research Software Engineering here in the UK. The RSE community here in the UK has come a long way from the time when the term RSE was first coined almost a decade ago, over the first funded RSE fellowships, the first RSE conference, and the transformation of the RSE Association into the professional RSE Society. Our membership is now at over 500 members, and we have a large active online community with a lot of different RSEs coming from different backgrounds and different technical specialisms. Here at SeptembRSE, we will present a number of initiatives we've worked on over the past year, such as our RSE mentoring scheme, work on appreciating the diversity of the RSE role, and the launch of our special interest groups on regional RSE groups. Over the past year, our focus was a lot on improving governance and writing policies for our RSE society. In the coming year, one of our main focuses will be to work on EDI in the RSE society and the RSE community. If you're interested to hear more, please head over to our website, follow us on Twitter, or grab one of us trustees at the society booth here at SeptembRSE. So hope to see you there.
Excellent. Thank you for everyone that sent in videos. They were great little talks. Now can we just go through and have everyone that's on the panel introduce themselves quickly. And if we start with Jan from Germany.
Yeah, hi there. Happy to be here again. So you also saw me in the video, so I can make it short. I'm Jan Dietrich, and I'm here in my role as board member of the German RSE Society.
Excellent, thank you, Jan. And is it Carlos from the Netherlands? Holland.
Hi, I'm Carlos Martinez from the Dutch RSE organization. It's just nice to be here again, and hope to hear everybody's point of view and to see how we can collaborate further.
Thank you. And Radovan from Nordic RSE.
Hi everybody, Radovan Pastor, calling from Tromsø, Northern Norway. representing here Nordic RSE. I'm very much looking forward to the discussions and the questions. So nice to see all of you.
And from representing the Chinese RSE, James in Shanghai.
Hi, my name is James Lin. I work in Shanghai Jiaotong University. So I lead a team for the RSE team, about 20 people in my university. This is my first time to join this event. I'm very happy to come here and learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. You're very welcome. And Felix from Canada, sorry, I apologize, not France. Sorry for that.
Hi, I'm Felix Fortin. I'm from Canada, Quebec City. I'm a team lead of RSEs at Université Laval, and I'm representing Canada's RSEs.
Thank you. And then Ian from the US.
Hi, everyone. Same me as from the video, so I'll keep it short. Ian Kazin. My day job, I lead a team of research software engineers at Princeton University, but I'm here more on behalf of USRSE, where I'm the current chair of the steering committee.
Excellent, thank you. And if anyone else would like to introduce themselves, and we have Ian Cotton and Anna Lena from the Netherlands as well, if you'd like to introduce yourselves quickly.
Yes, Ian Cotton from the UK. I retired last year as head of the RSE group at the University of Manchester, and then I became a trustee of the Society of RSEs here. And my particular role is, well, as well as helping with communications, I run the membership group. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Annalena Lamprecht, affiliated with Utrecht University, assistant professor in software technology. And I'm here today as a core team member of NLRSE, so the Dutch society. Yeah, by being German originally, I'm also a member of the German one, and I can already say it's interesting to see the differences, how it works in the different countries.
Yes, thank you. And we're also joined today by the people, well, us that have been organising the RSE Worldwide, Shashank and Sandra from the States, and Claire Wyatt, who's part of the organising team for the RSE, SeptembRSE. So hello to everyone. So I think now if we have some questions, I think on Slido. If anyone would like to ask any of the questions on Slido, if any of the attendees would like to ask any questions, we will go through and have a discussion based on some of the questions that are posed on Slido. So some of those that may have joined this morning, some of the questions may be quite similar, but for those that have just joined this afternoon, we can, oh, sorry, come on. Sorry, my Zoom, there we go. Yeah, so we'll just go through some of the questions. So if we go through, and the first question I think would be, how do you connect to other related associations in your country? So say, yeah, different sort of groups that of like-minded individuals. I know there's a few different ones in the UK, similarly in Germany and across Europe. And if anyone would like to start with that.
I can do the UK and BCS, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great, thank you.
Yeah, so the BCS stands for, well, it used to stand for British Computer Society. I think they just call themselves the Information Technology Society of the UK now. I've actually been a member of the BCS for many decades and followed their work with interest. So yes, we, in a sense, we're both professional societies, the BCS of long standing, and SOC RSE here in the UK for obviously a much shorter time. So what we've been doing, Paul, the president of the SOC RSE, and myself, is having regular meetings with a representative of the BCS, and the person we talk to is the director of policy. So what that enables is that we hear about both policies that the National BCS Society are adopting, and importantly, what they're recommending to UK government. And we explain what we're doing. It's been very useful for getting across any misunderstandings, really. one of the misunderstandings that happens in the UK sometimes is that our society is confused with the Software Sustainability Institute, because several members of the SSI helped to start the society. So there's been that conflation, really, and I was pleased to explain to the BCS what the difference was, even though we work together, really. So that's it. We have a very good relationship, and long may it continue.
Excellent. Yeah, I suppose it's that tricky thing about not stepping on people's toes, but also understanding, I suppose, that there can be RSCs within the RSC society, but also within different different groups that may not, call themselves RSCs specifically. So yeah, if anyone else would like to jump in.
Yeah, I can jump in and talk a bit about the GI. So the GI is the Gesellschaft für Informatik, which can be translated as Society for Computational Sciences. And so in Germany, we also have a quite good relationship, I think, and we cooperate where it makes sense. So for example, the GI helped us a lot with the DERSE conference in 2019. Where they basically acted as main host of this event, because at this time we didn't have a DRSE society which could take over the financial risk. So they basically stepped in and helped us there. And also the software engineering conference, which I mentioned in my lightning talk, which will be next year, where there will be also an RSE track in there, is hosted by the GI. So yeah, these kind of cooperations we are doing at the moment.
Excellent, thank you. So maybe if we go on to another question, which is, what are the challenges you've encountered when promoting RSE in your region? If anyone's encountered any issues with, I don't know, funding or anything similar.
I can take a stab at this one to start. I think our biggest challenge early on, I think, is awareness, is understanding the role. It's using a similar vocabulary. So one of the things we encountered early on was research software engineer is a thing. We're going to call research software engineers and not programmers or other thing, and giving some validity and common terminology. Then always the next question is, well, am I an RSE? So then how do you define it? This is a newish movement. It's a new term. It's a new idea. And so I think those were kind of our early on challenges, were just educating is kind of a strong word, but raising awareness and being consistent with the terminology that we used to define RSEs. And then from there, we could build on top of that.
And I agree completely with the people classifying themselves RSCs. I used to work in a computational biology group, and inviting some of the people to SeptembRSE and then being like, I'm not an RSC, I just write a bit of code. So I think, yeah, trying to get people to sort of see themselves, or maybe not get the people, but to sort of evangelize and sort of say who people can classify themselves as RSCs that may not normally have it in their job title type thing. Okay, so Felix, if you'd like to get your hand up.
I would say we're currently at our infancy of building our RSE chapter in Canada, but one of the challenges I'm expecting we will face is that the term engineer is actually regulated in Canada, and in order to call yourself an engineer, you have to be registered with an engineer society of either your province or nationally. And I'm wondering if other panelists have faced similar issues in their respective country, where you cannot call yourself an engineer unless you're actually have a diploma in engineer. Now, I know in the States, software engineering, anyone could actually be a software engineer, but is there somewhere else in the world where they are facing some regulation around the terms research software engineers?
Has anyone encountered I think I've heard in parts of Europe as well, engineering is a protected term similar to architecture and that type of thing. If anyone's encountered anything like that in Europe. Lena, do you have something to add?
Yeah, well, not on that. So I'm not aware of any of these issues, but it's interesting. I guess Germany would be a country that is also proud of their engineers, but I think for software engineers it doesn't really apply. So they don't have that problem. But the other point that came to my mind is what I observed in the Netherlands a bit. So the country sees itself very much at the forefront of the transition to open science, and that also includes, of course, like open access and a lot of the fair data movement. And that has really, I mean, the good news is has really been picked up by policymakers in the last years. Also by the national funding agencies who really mandates fair data and like a data management plan and kind of things. But in that thinking, like software always comes second. And it's also at our university, so our deans slowly learned the lesson. So meanwhile, it's fair data and code. And for a long time, it only used to be like focus on fair data. And we're also saying there's also software aspect to research. We don't only need like data stewards, but also people that take good care about the software. So that's changing. But it's still, also in the proposal documents, you have to write a data management plan. And then you wonder, what about software? And then say, okay, if you have software, you can write it there as well. But then the question doesn't really fit stuff. And that's slowly changing. So eScience Center with their proposals, they also require a software management plan now, so and give explicit attention to that. But that has been a bit of a challenge, at least here, that the data has been so much in the focus of many people and not the software that goes with it. I'm also wondering if that has been the case in other countries, but I could imagine that that's the case.
Yeah. Has anyone else encountered similar problems? Okay, so maybe we'll jump on to the next question. So what kind of activities or events are your communities requesting? Like, what things are appreciated and help grow the community? What didn't work was a bit of a time sink. Has anyone encountered things that haven't really worked out whilst trying to form a community?
I'm happy to start again. If no one... So I think one of the things that's brand new for us in the UK, but proving very popular already, is the mentoring scheme, which was just announced formally yesterday. This is the idea that you can apply to be either a mentor or a mentee to improve your career and your career aspirations and so on. And this current year, starting from round about now, we'll be holding a pilot program of about 20 mentees. And mentees have to be members of the former members, paid up members of the society, although mentors don't have to be. So I think that's going to prove an excellent thing, very popular. And as a membership man, I'm hoping it will get us more members as well. What else helps to grow the community? I think things like meetings of RSE leaders. So around the UK, there's quite a lot of groups and universities and research institutes now, and all the leaders of those groups share the same kind of problems. So they get together online these days, but in previous years, it was at somebody's institution to discuss and share these things, much as we're doing now, really. The latter part of the question was what hasn't worked or was a bit of a time sink. I'm always slightly disappointed that more people don't read our monthly newsletter. I don't know if Claire wants to comment on that as our chief editor, but three of us put quite a bit of work into that, and it goes out, is it to about 900 people, Claire, and we get a less than 15 to 20% readership.
Yeah, Claire, would you like to add into that?
Yeah, sure. So the kind of events we find people request is obviously the big annual conferences, but smaller events, and I'll come back to the newsletter in a sec, smaller events where you kind of look at the career stage of RSCs, not just getting everyone together. So like Ian said, we've got the RSC Leaders Network, which has worked really, really well. We regularly, obviously when we could all meet up, we'd have 20 to 30 people from all over the UK meet up, because they were going over the same issues within their institutions. And so we've also had we've had a 2-day workshop for aspirational RSC leaders, aspiring RSC leaders. So you're getting people at that certain career level. So I would definitely say that looking at your community and promoting it, have a look at the career levels and divide them up and see what events will help each level, to make sure that you're not just giving events to one particular part and always, you know, looking after that career point. A time sink, yeah, I think the biggest time sink of all the comms that we do, Twitter and the website and our events and all sorts, is the newsletter. It takes days to put together, but I think there's so much information in there. We have heard good things back, but yeah, we try and put a lot in there, and maybe we try and put too much in there. But all these things help to grow the community. The amount of people that have found the RSE Slack community by reading our tweets, it's always bringing new people in. So yeah, all of those things help, all those activities help to bring people to the Slack.
That's great, thank you. I did just see a question go past, which Ian might be able to help us with. I think there is the mentoring scheme open only to UK RSCs, or is it open to anyone?
I think it's open to anyone who's a member of the society. That's right, isn't it, Claire? Just correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. So we've answered that one. Those who are members in an RSC group in more than one country, I think Lena can answer this. What are the main differences you've noticed between the groups? So, Annalena, I think you're a member of both, did you say?
Yeah, I mentioned that before. And that's, I think, so between Netherlands and the Germany, I think like two main things that are somehow connected maybe. But so first thing is something that Carlos already mentioned. So the Netherlands is a small country. So it's like, yeah, one of the federal states of Germany, maybe. So it really makes it easy for people to just come to an event. So when there are meetups in Amsterdam or Utrecht, then people can just come for the day. I mean, non-corona times, that is. And in generally, I mean, there's fewer universities. People, usually the RSE, I think they tend to know each other, and the network is very, very dense. And on the other hand, I mean, Germany is just much bigger, and these things become a bit more difficult then. And the other thing that is characteristic of the Netherlands, I think that the NL-RSE community, I mean, is really open to everyone who identifies as an RSE, even if it's only in parts. But it's very much supported and has been initiated also by the eScience Center, which is like a national RSE institution, you might say, that has government funding, that has also community managers that can help organizing all these kind of things, and that really helps to have a certain continuation in all the events that are there, because there is a group of people who can do this really as part of their jobs. Where other members do this as part of their extra activities, and that's also certainly the case for the German groups. But then the German RSE has very quickly gone this more formal way that Jan also introduced, right? They go becoming a charitable society, connecting with the GI, the National Computer Science Society, to get this kind of support. So this is a bit larger, more official, which has advantages, but maybe sometimes also makes some things a bit slower to organize. No? So I think that's a bit the two main differences you can see there, but it also has implication, of course, about the things that are organized. In Netherlands, it can sometimes be quicker, more spontaneous, informal, just because it's smaller and has a bit less of an overhead. But there also the Netherlands, I could say, we were also debating if we should become a bit more detached from the eSign Center and be like an own society or own association. But yeah, I mean, it's also convenient to have all this support. So that's currently an ongoing debate, really.
Yeah, I suppose it's handling bureaucracy and then needing money at the same time, I suppose, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Feeding both parts. Oh, yeah, feeding both camps. There's a phrase there somewhere. So yeah. Has anyone else experienced anything like that? Sort of moving continent. I know. Well, I suppose Sandra has moved from Europe to the States. So maybe a few people that have moved between countries, maybe between societies. If anyone else has got anything to add. Not to drop it on you there, Sandra. No.
Okay. So yeah, my let's say experience is, so since in the UK it started, and my first contact was mostly to the UK RSE association, and I did then see that also more develops in Germany and more in Europe. I got really interested, and I'm part of the RSE US RSE steering committee and co-chair of it. So I think what I see in the differences is that there is really a different landscape. One is, of course, the timeline. It is different, that a couple of things can be really also set up, like a website, like Slack channels, like newsletters. So lessons learned, that the outreach is very important. But on the other side, it's also, the landscape with university national labs and also industry is different in the US, and that is, I think, we need also to react on and try the outreach maybe with different topics. And I know, and sometimes it's independent of the countries. So I know that the Slack channel works well all over the RSE groups, is my impression. But for example, with the working groups, I think it works well in the US. I don't know whether this concept of having working groups or on dedicated topics with some people who focus on a specific topic works also very well for other groups, because I did not see that in other associations yet. On the other hand, yeah, it would be great to have funding to do fellowships like the UK. So yeah, some activities are also dependent on having funding. And for the US, I can say, we want to go there, we are not there yet. If that answer the question a little bit.
Yeah, no, that was brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's good. And also, if people do move between societies and things, they can take the experiences from different societies to the next. Say if they move somewhere where an RSE group hasn't really been set up. I think we have some people from South Africa, I think, on the call. I think they just start setting up their RSE sort of group, I suppose you'd call it, or chapter. And so yeah, if people, I think that's what's really helpful with these RSE Worldwide type days, if we can share everyone's knowledge. So I think we'll move on. I think James, I'm going to ask you, James, possibly from, how is the RSE movement developing in Asia, and is there funding available for RSE groups? What's your experience?
Okay, so first of all, I can only represent in China, not Asia. Asia include many other countries like Japan, South Korea. The situation there is quite different. So for the China, so the short answer for the first question, how is the RSE movement developed in China? We are still in the beginning phase. And the short answer for the second question is, there any funding available for the RSE group? It's still very little now. So let me explain them both in the details. For the first one, so I think RSE is begin to gain more focus and gain more attentions for the many people. So my research background is in high performance computer. So the ARCA, the supercomputers. So the people has invested a lot in the hardware. So we have lots of supercomputers here, and we have developed some very successful HPC applications. So we have won the several Golden Bell Prize applications, but there's a lack something between them. The hardware at the bottom and the up one is the application. We are lack of the research software. So that will take a long time. So we begin to focus that. So my university is a pioneer to doing the RC in China. I have a team, as I mentioned earlier, about 20 persons. They are developing the RC software, and they help our researchers in my universities to turn their code into the research software. So our funding for my team is mainly from my universities. It's not from my government yet, but we are looking for other opportunities to, if we can get more support out of the university. And also there is no national RC community, as I have write the email before that. So this is my first time to come here. I was very happy to join the international community to see how you build your local community in your country. So I can learn from you, and I will promote RC activities first in Shanghai and then in China. Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, thank you, James. Yeah, hopefully we can get sort of a semi-regular RSE Worldwide thing going, and we can share things, and yeah, you can join, and hopefully we can keep these things rolling and have a more frequent meeting. I think that'd be really helpful. So I think maybe if we move on to, okay, this could be quite an interesting one. If you were starting a new chapter today, what would you do differently? And sorry, Kim, if I didn't say South Africa, I might have said something else, but I meant to say South Africa. But anyway, if you were starting a new chapter today, what would you do differently? If everyone can, let's started a chapter. If you could jump in, that was great. That would be great. Radovan.
Yes, so a few tips, a few things that I would do differently. I would create a presentation for managers, for the leadership, and knock more on doors and talk to the leadership and try to do more convincing. Traveling to more events, creating a poster, traveling to events. I mean, I learned that actually earlier today. I should have done more of that. Then one thing I regret that we didn't do, we started with many events, because I think events is a great way to actually map the community, grow the community. So it was good. And many people came. But one thing I regret that we didn't do, we didn't ask when people registered to the events, we didn't ask them, hey, would you mind to be contacted for future events? And we didn't ask them, so we know we feel like we can't contact them because we never asked this question. So that I would do differently, so that we can really grow a mailing list like the UK RSE did, and have a way of reaching out to the community after the events.
Okay, yeah, that is tricky. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so that is tricky. Yeah, so with all the new GDPR rules, it is tricky, handling all these sort of sensitive information. Okay, Claire, if you'd like to go next.
Yeah, thanks. So there's something in the UK called Technicians Commitment that was started. And the way we look at it is we started the RSE community grassroots up, and really started with getting in touch with people and building that community on Slack and locally as well. And the Technicians Commitment, due to a grant, has an MP who gives opening speeches and opening paragraphs on their documents and all sorts of things. And so they have this, they've gone for the top-down approach. I'm not saying I would have done it differently. We might have done it differently, but I mean, because there's pros and cons in both, obviously. but trying to get in front of VCs is much easier if you have the backing of an MP, and we obviously are leaving tackling that job to each RSE group leader or RSEs, individual RSEs in each institution, and it's really difficult to get that message up through the institution. So there was two really different approaches between our RSE movement in the UK and the technicians' commitment. They're very, very, very different, and it's quite interesting how further along in front of VCs the technician commitment has become. So yeah, it's an interesting one of, could we have done it differently? It's a question, but I wouldn't swap the fantastic community. I wouldn't want to get rid of that fantastic community we have on Slack already, and obviously the conferences and everything we've put on. So what do you do? Don't know.
And by VCs, do you mean vice chancellors, or sorry, I'm just missing a thing from there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I think Ian Cosden from the States was next.
Oh, thanks. I realize there's two of us with virtually the same name here.
That's all right.
So I'm gonna cheat a little bit and be influenced by the question underneath this about the challenges creating and addressing that in what do we do if we started a new chapter today. We approached this from a grassroots. There were a few of us who got together and said, this is something we want to do. And that was the big struggle that we had, was this is all volunteer time. This is all a very small handful of people who are doing this on the side because they believe in it. And so if I were starting a new chapter today, I would focus on finding others in the community who are willing to put in that effort early on and working together as much as possible to build it. And that's largely what we did. But it is a massive lift in some cases. I think in every case, I don't think this ever comes easily, and having an active group of volunteers who are committed is how we've gotten started. It's, I think the others on the steering committee, that's really just another term for really motivated individuals giving their own time. So I would do the same thing. I don't think I would approach it. One possible thought that came into my mind was, well, if I had funding that allowed me to buy out people's time or buy out my own time such that I could dedicate more to this, I think that could have accelerated things. But that would have been all focused on getting that funding rather than building the community. So I don't necessarily know if that's the right way, but realizing that those are and still are the challenges we face with growing the community of operating on volunteer effort.
Great, thank you. And if Ian Cottam, I was going to say the other Ian, but sorry, Ian Cottam would like to jump in, that'd be great. Thank you.
The other Ian. So my comments a little tongue in cheek. What I would do differently, I would give everybody a membership number, and I would give people a fancy membership card, and have something a little bit tangible that they could put in their wallets and say, show people that I'm a member of the society. I know lots of people think, oh, you don't need membership numbers, you don't need membership cards, but the other societies that I'm a member of do quite a lot of this kind of thing, and I do think helps to create a feeling of being part of the community. Certainly when we first started, a lot of people rushed to be one of the early members, because then you could be member number 10 or member number 12, but we don't know. Anyway, as I said, a little bit tongue in cheek, but I still mention it.
No, I agree with you for things like that. It's nice when you get something sent in the post. I'm still actually very angry that my cousin has the Jones GitHub username, which I need to get off him at some point. But yeah, having that are quite nice. They are, it's nice having little things in the post and maybe, cards and that type of thing. One question I'd actually like to ask, just barging over Slido because I'm chairing the meeting, why not, is if people think that having in-person events help sort of grow communities and that type of thing. Which I know maybe not quite, not quite yet, but hopefully soonish. Claire?
Yes, definitely. Like with anything in life, obviously there's pros and cons. So lots of people can come along to a conference online that they couldn't have normally afforded or had the time to go to, and you can dip in and out of things. So it's very inclusive in that way. But I think, well, at least personally and anecdotally from the RSE community, I hear that, can't wait to get back to doing things in person. There's no replacement for the chat in the coffee queue or the little chat where you sit down next to somebody in a conference theatre waiting, or a tutorial room waiting for the session to start. You meet all sorts of people that way, and you just can't do that online. So yeah, I think it absolutely helps communities to grow. You always come away with something else in person, and you can't replicate that online, I think.
No, yeah, I totally agree. If Sandra, would you like to go? Oh, I think you're muted, Sandra.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So what I wanted to add is also one thing. I totally agree to Claire at every point. She said the advantage if you make the time and if you have the travel money is also you are in the same time zone. It's like yeah, you take the time really out of your schedule. If you have online conferences, it's more inclusive in that way. Nobody has to travel, but it means also that you do all your normal work around the online conference. That is the normal way it goes. So I think to have a mixture of both offers would be great for people who don't like the travel or don't have the travel money, to have something like maybe a virtual day at the conference in different time zones and have really then but the on-site. A really hybrid event, I still think it's very challenging, but we get better in organizing that. But I still think hybrid is challenging.
Sorry, I'm muting myself now. Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, I think, hybrid events, because it would be nice to have people sort of either dialing in to an in-person conference from, say, New Zealand or wherever. I think it could be nice, but as you say, technical challenges could be, and time zones could be fiddly. Jan, I think you were next.
Yeah, so I also think that these kind of offline events are quite useful to grow the community. And I believe the reason is that I think a key element to grow a community is these kind of informal discussions. And I mean, you can also have these informal discussions in online events, but it's harder to achieve. And with conferences, offline conferences, you usually have that, as Claire said, over coffee or something like that. And I have the feeling that these are the parts of the events which are most important for growing a community.
Yeah, so you never know who you're going to bump into, so yeah, exactly, in a queue for something. I think Shashank.
Yeah, I would just like to add that in an in-person event, there's always it's nice to be there if you are new, because even if you don't know whom to talk to, you can just talk to the person sitting next to you. Whereas if you're online, you don't really know anyone, and even though you can try to have something like Gather Town where you could hypothetically walk up to someone and talk to them, it's sometimes a bit challenging to just start a conversation at random. Whereas in an in-person event, you just talk to the person sitting next to you because you want to get their cable out of the way or something of that sort, and you start chatting over there over that way. Yeah, just from personal experience, I would say I would not be involved in the community as such had I not been in the first in-person event that I attended, because I'm not an online person per se. So yeah, there are different types of personalities, and some of them do not work online so very well.
No, I completely agree. I really much prefer in-person events, but that's the world we live in. But it's all good. Hopefully next year. And Annalena?
Yeah, no, I also fully agree with what's said, that like both formats definitely have their pros and cons. Being like the informal chats, of course, being valuable, cannot be replaced, and what Claire also said but on the other hand, online events can be super inclusive. An interesting thing that we observe now also that restrictions are being lifted, and we're organizing the first on-site events again. So both in the RSE sector, but also in other areas now. And I've seen it that many people are suddenly, so everyone says they're longing for going back to the personal experience and to meeting people. But when it comes and then you have the first events and people do see their time constraints, people, do not, maybe that's a timely thing, that people do not feel comfortable yet to enter the rooms with other people. So we have it very often now that we announced like a physical event, and then people were asking, oh, will there be recordings? Will there be a stream? Will there be, how can I participate if I cannot come or do not want to come there? So I think at the moment there's also a bit of a bias because everyone is so much longing for seeing people in person again, which I completely understand. But the reality is also that people have learned a lot about the advantages of all the remote participation, because I certainly wouldn't have been able to travel to so many events and conferences I attended last year. And you still get something from that. And over the past 1.5 years, I've started to work with a lot of people that I've never met in person. So it's not that it's impossible, but the challenge will really be to find the good balance. And it's the same to the point that Sandra mentioned with the hybrid formats. So figuring out how those work in a good way, this will really be a challenge. I don't know yet. I haven't seen really great hybrid events yet. So if someone knows of any, I'll be happy to learn about that and learn from that.
No, I think that is tricky. I think I just saw Christopher in the chat saying, yeah, it's hard to have an in-person event, sorry, because it could cannibalize ticket sales for an in-person people joining. I suppose people just could watch everything online. But Ian Cosden, if you'd like to jump in.
I just wanted to say one thing quick that I think might get lost here is growing a community. So if you're starting very small, I think an online event is almost essential. It's cheap, it's easy, it's low risk, there's no travel required. The setup, so many aspects can go to starting and growing a community that, yes, it's definitely going to be inferior to an in-person event, but we now have the technology and we now have kind of the acceptance of communities to participate in such an event that we've done so much in USRSE. We would not be where we are now without virtual events. The in-person events have been in 2019 and they were very small and they weren't really branded truly as USRSE. So I think, yes, the in-person events help grow communities, but we should not sacrifice the virtual ones because we think that they're ineffective.
I definitely agree that they can be used alongside, sort of, the big, well, to say big, I don't know how many people will travel these days more, but, sort of the bigger in-person conferences, they can have some, events more frequently, and as you say, more cheaply and maybe not easily after, I don't want to put,
I want to say that you can do an hour online event.
Yes. Yeah.
Much easier than you can do an hour in-person event.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
And when you're growing a community, sometimes that hour is all you need to just get people to know something exists and participate, even if it's 1/10 the interaction they're going to have in person.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's a good point to stop for now. And if we just have a quick 5-minute break, so it's past the hour. Should we just say let's come back 10 past to make it easier for everyone? Have a little bit of a break and we'll come back at 10 past the hour. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a nice little break. So let's give it a few moments. Okay, so I think, yeah, the last question we were discussing was, do you think in-person events, yeah, so what are the challenges you faced with creating or growing your RSE chapter? If someone would like to jump in there, or Carlos, do you have any input in challenges you faced in creating or growing your RSE chapter? Sorry to put it on you.
No, that's okay. Well, I think in the Netherlands, what Annalena mentioned earlier is that the chapter really started sort of from the design center and growing outwards. And I think one of the challenges that we faced is that we don't want it to be too much centered around one organization, that it really should feel like it's not the design center thing, but it's a national thing, and there should be more commitment and more participation and more collaboration from RSEs from other organizations. And I think that trying to distance ourselves from or define our identity as our own organization, our own chapter, our own thing, has been quite challenging, because yeah, we still would like very much for Design Center to pay for our events and for organizing our drinks. Thank you very much. But we also want to say, okay, hey, yes, but we are an independent thing and we decide on our content or on our own. And if we want to talk about how, I don't know, how great a specific technology is with or without the approval of the Design Center, then that's what we want to do. So I think that creating our own identity has been challenging, and getting people to be engaged in participating, in collaborating, because it feels like, oh yeah, but it's a Design Center thing, right? So we don't need to participate, and getting people to really engage, to really say, okay, we want to do this because we feel part of the NLRSE group. I think that's been one of the main challenges from my point of view. Of course, I think we've succeeded to some extent, because part of our core team, and I'm looking at Lena here, she's not affiliated with Design Center, so it's good that we have succeeded in that way, in distancing ourselves a little bit. Still something we need to improve, but I think we're moving in the right direction there.
Yeah, maybe to add to that, I guess one of the challenges there is to really reach out to the people who identify as RSEs, because I mean, there's the e-sign center people who have the job titles RSEs, and there are a few research engineers also at universities now, but it's still a fairly small group. But actually the community is meant for many more people who are called postdocs or whatever, and that's also a bit of a challenge. So how do you reach those to integrate them in the community?
Yes, definitely. I think from my field, there were quite a lot of people who worked, supporting a piece of software that would maybe still not necessarily know of the RSE movement or the RSE, people having the RSE job title. And Radovan, I see you've got your hand up.
Yes, I want to mention a few challenges that we had in Nordic RSE. I mean, one thing that was mentioned a couple of times now, I mean, reaching people. That's a challenge. Also, Nordic RSE is interesting in terms that it's a couple of countries, because the countries are relatively small in terms of inhabitants, and it makes sense to do it together instead of every country on its own on this scale. And the challenges could be interesting also for other, I don't know, smaller chapters who want to start together. So one challenge that you come to at some point is, well, where do we register the bank account, for instance, in which country? In which of these countries do we register the association? And what does it then mean for the board? So these are the administrative challenges. And then another challenge that we need to really work on is diversity in all aspects, that we need to improve. And how do we go outside of our bubble, also in terms of disciplines, to be cross-discipline and really have a diverse group of people? That's a challenge.
Do you find that the three countries, I'm going to say three, I don't know if Denmark counts as is Denmark part of the Nordic RSE?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. How do you find sort of the higher education or government attitudes towards the RSE community? Is that something you've encountered differently between the different countries? Or?
Definitely, because the countries are similar in terms of work culture and organization, but also different. Also, how the universities are organized, how the centers are organized. Right now, we have better reach and representation in Finland and in Norway and in Sweden, just because the initial group of people who decided that this is something we should do, this is where they came from. But we also now have a board member from Denmark. We would also like to reach communities in the Baltics, in Iceland. But there we need to go outside of our bubble. That's not easy.
No, definitely. Yeah, I think it's a challenge worldwide, really. Felix, can I ask you to tell us about any challenges you faced in Canada, sort of growing the RSE community?
I wouldn't say I'm in position to talk about like growing the RSE community in general. I can talk about our local chapter at our current institution. And our main challenges has mostly been like outreaching researchers who would be willing to use our services as an RSE local team. And this hasn't been easy because generally researchers are used to employ their own RSEs and outsourcing some of the software development to a team that is doing mostly research software development and research software engineering has been a challenge. When we started outreaching to them, they started by looking at like, are you offering money? And we were like, no, we're offering development time. And they were like completely oblivious to the concept of having someone offering time to develop software that will help them in their research. And so what I've started, since they were so oblivious about that concept, I eventually cornered the term. And since, as I said, since the term software engineer is regulated in Canada, I started calling ourselves a software plumber. And my boss is not very keen on that, but it grew. Researchers started understanding that we were not actually looking in replacing their usual research software that they develop and that they publish on, but mostly build tools that will help them interconnect different and complex research software. So that's been a challenge of just explaining what's the concept and how we can actually help researchers accelerate their research.
Okay, I like it. I like the term. I notice that's it. As anything that can help sort of get across the idea of the movement is it's helpful. Why not? Claire, you got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. So I was just thinking about how we created the society and just thinking back through that. So Simon Hetrick, the SSI, got a small grant in 2016 from the EPSRC to employ me back then, and it was small, so we had to be really careful how we used it and to use it as a proper springboard. So funding is constantly an issue going forwards. And obviously it is in most things in academia, but you know what I mean. So constantly a challenge every year to make sure there's funds from the conference and to fund lots of other different events that cater to everybody in the community, and we're so diverse. So that's just, long-term funding is an issue for the trustees. It's something we have to now talk about regularly. Who do we apply for funding? We don't always want to rely on industry partners. And so that's one big issue of creating it and growing it, is where does that funding come from? Because as soon as you create, or as soon as you decide to create a legal entity, the fees come with that. So solicitor fees if you're going for a charity, and all sorts of other tools that you want to have. So there's there's suddenly a set amount of expenses all the time every year. So you're then again come back to the funding, and the society, as I imagine most national charities, national groups are run on volunteer effort. So again, how do you one of the challenges is how do you keep everybody engaged and inspired to all work at the same level? And there's a lot of work, and it's on top of the day job, obviously, apart from myself, because I'm a community manager and I'm paid to be here, and everyone else is volunteer effort. So that is a real challenge, that people have obviously fluctuations in their workload and they can't always put in 100%. And so volunteers carrying all that workload to keep a legal entity up and running and getting up and running was and is a real challenge still. Another issue we found is finding the right level of industry partnership. So you don't want to just be taking from industry all the time. You want to be in a partnership relationship with them. So finding that way when we know, when we not all have the experience of doing that, is also a challenge.
Excellent, thank you. I know, and Ian, if you'd like to add to that.
So I'll just go real quickly. Claire said it perfectly. I had my hand up before she said that the volunteer effort here, we all have day jobs. We're all doing this because we believe in it. We think it's valuable, and we want to see this profession grow. That said, there's two challenges. One is finding the time to do it, and the other is finding volunteers who are committed and are going to be able to contribute. So it's turning a community member into a community leader. I don't know how other associations have been successful with that, but that's been a slow process, and it's happening as we do more and more events. But it's certainly been a challenge of there's more work to be done than people who are able to volunteer time to do it. I suppose the other answer is we get funding, but that's another challenge too.
Maybe all the governments will turn around in a year's time and be like, we absolutely love what you're doing, RSEs. And I think that sort of moves on to the next question. What is the value of RSE, and are there case studies showing real impact or value from RSEs and RSE societies in your country? Anyone would like to start with that, or I'll pick on someone. Maybe, who have we heard from? We haven't heard from Jan for a little while, so I'll pick on you.
Yeah, it's an excellent question, but I don't have a good answer to that, because I think that's the kind of thing which is, at least for me, the missing piece, where also on past events I was always asking for whether there is some kind of case studies or something like that. I think there's some material out there, and I guess Claire is probably a good person to talk about it, or I hope, I don't know. I think the SSI did something there. But I mean, that's something where I'm constantly struggling, because I believe if you're having an RSE group and the RSE group is working well, I think the effect is basically that everything works just smoothly. And people don't really see the value in it, because they don't know how it would work if the RSE group wouldn't be there. So it's always this kind of, at least that's my daily problem, that it's really hard to show how much the work we are doing is helping.
Sorry. Okay, and Sandra?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I want to second that. It's really hard to show impact and the value in general. So I think at the moment we are still more at that point where we can show it with anecdotal evidence, and that groups are saying, oh, we are so much faster, or there's positive experience, or we can see really that there is the effect of building groups, that the university gives money, that the groups are growing. So that is a positive sign. So it's not, and that RSEs are taking up in so many different countries is of course showing also the momentum. I still think, yes, we have to show more of the impact, and I have to show hard numbers maybe. That is still, I think, where we have to work on. The other thing is also not only to show how big the community grows, but to have, starting with anecdotal also stories, saying how the research software engineers themselves feel about having a community. I think there are two aspects. One aspect is to have the impact and value for researchers, let's say, who have the support from RSEs and who have RSEs in their teams to help them with the software. The other thing is, as an RSE and being happy in that role, I think that impact for research and for the community is still totally under investigated, I think.
Sorry. Yes, yeah, I think it is, because it's such a relatively new thing. I suppose it hasn't quite got to the fore yet, the value of the work RSEs do. And I think Shashank's next.
I would like to say that while we are still in the process of figuring out how to value software properly in terms of GitHub forks or number of downloads or whatever metric we choose, one metric that is already established is number of citations. And at least for researchers who are in embedded groups, if they contribute to a software and identifies an RSC, they can contribute back to the society or the affiliated chapter and report that I identify as an RSC, and the software that I wrote has been cited these many times. And this can be a good metric to convince funding agencies that people who think that they are RSCs are already getting so many citations. I'm just saying that because that is the metric that is valued at present. I'm not saying that that is how I want things to be, or that is how that it is ideal. But while we have an imperfect system, we have to live with it. And maybe counting citations of people who are who identifies as RSC, maybe the way to go in terms of convincing funding agencies for the role of RSC.
Yeah, I think it is important, because I know a lot of software packages do ask for citations, but I think it is something that can be maybe pushed a bit more and can be very useful. And Claire.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know, I'm not an RSC. As I said, I'm a community manager for the RSC community in the UK. But the answer to the first question, what is the value of an RSC? I'm convinced that you're all invaluable. You're like the MasterCard advert, priceless. And I'm convinced, but I'm unbiased, so I've been here for 5-6 years. For the case studies, as Sandra is saying, I think the proof is in that there are more and more groups in the UK every couple of months, and the groups that are there are growing larger and larger in all sorts of universities up and down the country. So there's proof, obviously, of the value that universities and vice chancellors and those with the decision makers are getting on board and thinking this is absolutely crucial. Are there any case studies? I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I think that's definitely something that the society and SSI should take forward.
Oh, sorry, I'm just failing at Zoom here. Yeah, sorry, I'm Radovan.
Just a quick idea on how to maybe collect case studies or success stories, because we are definitely missing them. I mean, we have them, but I also would not be able to show them if I was asked to. And I think it would be nice if I was able to show them. So one idea for this mentor-mentee program, which is very inspiring, great idea. And I think we should try to pick it up here and contribute in the Nordics as well, was that the result of this project could be a blog post. And maybe this is already the case, so maybe I'm describing something that is already designed. But so one way to kind of pay back the time would be to write a short blog post. What did we learn? Or describe, now it's 10 times faster, what was the learning outcome? And then not only the whole community benefits, but then we have also something to show. And at the end of the year, we can show here these 20 success stories.
Yes, definitely. I think it's a good thing to have in hand, something to show for the work, all the hours of work that's been done by all the RSC community. I'd actually like to ask James how you found having sort of, trying to starting an RSE group in Shanghai, and sort of, trying to get sort of, I suppose, telling people about the value of RSEs and the work they do. James, are you there? Oh, well, maybe we'll move on to the next question. So, to all chapters, how close is your relationship to your national funder? Do they listen to you, and how do you make them listen? So this is a good question. Someone would like to start, or I'll pick on Felix.
So we are quite close to our funder as local chapters, as institutional chapters, because we are actually meeting monthly, because we are all part of a new program that is financing directly the different teams. So like bi-monthly or monthly, we are actually meeting with our national funders funding our team directly. But we are also in the process of moving the actual funder to something that is actually bigger. And I wouldn't say they are, I don't know if they are listening. I know they are very busy, and I'm as a simple technical lead, I'm not in position to say if they are listening. But how to make them listen, I think it has to come to actually producing values and encouraging our local chapters to actually demonstrate and produce use cases where we demonstrate that RSEs are valuable for institutions. And this is what, like, our funding is only for 3 years now, and then we are supposed to find our own funding for our team. And I think our current objective is just to make the most of the money that we have to produce use cases where we are helping researchers and they are producing papers using our work. And then we can knock on the door of our funder and tell them like about those nice use cases.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a really good idea. Sandra?
Yeah, I think we made the experience in the US that there are funding bodies now interested in RSEs, but it's not like that there's huge funding yet. So they're positive at NSF and at different foundations, and they support, for example, a workshop we try to do now, Ian, for 2 years and delayed it because we got money for face-to-face participation. So we have, national funding. I think we still have to figure out what would be the funding and how to apply for something specific that helps with the community building. Maybe Ian, you want to jump in for the US RSE there?
I can jump in a little bit. I was a little hesitant to speak about this. There's the USRC perspective of what's our relationship like in getting funding for doing USRC activities, and then there's this other aspect, which is advocating on behalf of RSCs so that the national funder is acknowledging the role that RSCs play in the research process and funding those RSCs, and having the expectation that if you're going to have software as a deliverable from your grant, where is the professional who's going to be building that software so it's maintainable and sustainable? And I think that we've done a good job of starting that conversation and having the funders use the research software engineer terminology, right? I mean, I think that's a really actually big win in saying that our efforts have put this on their radar as something that's changing in the ecosystem of research software development. So how do we make them listen? I think just we've been in a dialogue, right? We're bringing it up. We're asking on behalf of RSC, USRSE, we're demonstrating the community coalescing around this term and this role. So I think we've grown a stronger relationship, and I think we will continue to as we just have a dialogue of, you know, helping building on the previous one of the impact that RSEs can make. Everyone wants research to be better. We're all here for the same reason.
Yeah, so do good work and hope they like it, and then hope they give you some money, I suppose. That's the yeah. So Anna-Lena next.
Yeah, so Carlos might actually know a few more details, but so the mentioned before that the NLRSE community, so the RSE community in the Netherlands is very much like, I don't want to say in the hands, but of the eScience Center, but really like they play a strong role in that. But the eScience Center is like by design tightly connected with the national funder, because I think it's like funded from the same sources, and they work very closely together, also leading to things like that the eScience Center does have calls for project proposals out there, which are essentially research software projects, and then the funding application process is managed by the national funder, but the eScience Center sets up their own calls and formats and what they want to have. And yeah, in a recent one, this was really that the eScience Center had one where you not only needed to hand in a data management plan, but also a software management plan, which was, yeah, I recognize very much from the discussions that have been done in the RSE community, what kind of things should be in such a plan. So they're kind of like now prototyping this with their RSE specific calls. And I guess that the hope is there that they see that there's value in this, and that this is important, and this will finally be taken over in the general funding programs as well. So let's hope they listen.
So
that's yet to be seen, but I think maybe that's a very specific situation in the Netherlands again. Carlos, yeah.
Yeah, so if I can complement, actually, yes, in that sense, the funders are listening, because we are currently discussing with the National Funding Agency, NWO, about, like Anna-Lena said, we had these data management plans for our call in the previous eScience Center round of calls, and we're in a working group together with NWO for defining national templates of software management plans for their calls as well. So the hope is that NWO in the future will have software management plans for every project that produces software. And I actually didn't want to, so I'm myself a little bit confused. Is this because the NLRSE chapter has influenced NWO? Yes, no, maybe. So I didn't want to jump to say anything on this one, because I'm a bit confused on what's the right answer. Through the eScience Center, there's some influence there. Some of the people sitting in this working group, I know them through the NLRSC network. So yes, there is connection between the NLRSC and the funder uses the same terminology. What Felix just said, that's a big win. If they already are taking the term software management plan as part of their vocabulary, that's already a big win. And I think in some way that's a particularity of how the landscape is in the Netherlands, with the RSE community being part of the eScience Center and being connected to NWO and being connected to the university. So I think that's mostly been a very lucky design that we happen to have.
And also maybe that it's really like some of the usual suspects are in several communities. Like you do have NWO people in NLRSE, and you see NWO people in the open science communities, who are not always there only in their role as a funder, but also just out of interest. And as you say, it's not a one directional thing that we try to influence them, but they pick up many of these ideas and try to learn from the communities by themselves.
Yeah. So actually, some of the usual suspects from NWO sometimes meet join the NLRSE meetups. So yeah, it's as I said in the introduction, the Netherlands is a small country, so everybody knows everybody, and we're all connected. So yes, it's mostly by sheer luck, really.
Excellent. And Claire?
Thanks. So the society, I think I'd say we are closest to the Research Council, EPSRC. They gave us the first grant back in 2016, and they've been our biggest champion, I think, since the beginning. They created the 3 rounds of fellowships that have happened for RSE specifically, and they do listen to us. We know them. They know us. We invite them to free events. We invite them to our events with free tickets. We ask them along to all sorts of things. We give them lots of time when they want to have fact-finding conversations about things. And as trustees, Paul Richmond, the outgoing president at the moment, has been building relationship with the umbrella organisation of the Research Council, the UKRI. So we know many people there, and I know that it's not just the trustees that are involved in the funders, but lots of people in the community are involved and know people from the funders in various ways, like Christopher Woods on the technical committee, and there's many people like that. So yeah, I think, yes, they do listen to us and involve us in things, but the closest one, I think, the closest relationship we have is the EPSRC. And obviously we're advocating for RSEs to be specifically in grants and written in from the beginning and involved in the beginning and all that kind of thing. So we'll keep plugging at it.
Great, thank you. James, can I ask you how your relationship with funding body? I'm not sure how funding bodies work in China. Do you get funding from the university or from a sort of a state body? Or?
Yes, so far we have not connected with our national funders. Yeah, so for currently the national funders give fundings to the high performance computing, and as I mentioned earlier, the most of spending on the applications and hardwares. And also there are some in the application domains, they have been support to develop their softwares, but there's no specific area like RSE. So I think we may need to getting close to the national funders to get their more support for the RSE in the near future. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. Okay, so I think we'll maybe move on to the next question here. So you all gave a lot of your free time to start / run your chapters. What do you get out of it, and is it worthwhile? I'm sure we'll all agree it is worthwhile, but well, hopefully. But if anyone would like to jump in. Or I'll pick, oh, sorry, I scrolled down just as someone put their hand up. Ian Cosden.
Sure, I'll go first. I'll give a cynical view, and then I'll give maybe a happier one. So, you know, yes, it's been a lot of time. It's been totally worth it. What do I get out of it? Look, I get to meet a ton of people in the field. I get to bring this leadership opportunity back to my employer. It's certainly from advancing my career. It's all good. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it's beneficial. But that's not really why I do it. You know, I went to grad school. I did a PhD in mechanical engineering, and the entire time I thought, this isn't really what I want to do. I want to write code. I want to write the code that runs this, and that's what I want my job to be. And it wasn't a thing, right? And so I want the next generation of people to have a clear path to find this. I so much wanted to do it that I felt like I had to blaze my own trail, and you know, I want to make it easier for others. So I'm inherently motivated by the next generation of I found my group. This is what I want to do. I found my next job. You know, we have a job board at USRSE, and we've gotten the feedback that people literally have gotten their first RSE job as a result of the work that we're doing. And that makes it all worthwhile. So building a community is tremendously rewarding in its own right. And that's why I do it.
No, that sounds great. It didn't sound too cynical at all. That was great.
I started with the cynical, and then we
okay, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's great. Turn around right at the end. Okay, Claire.
So I obviously don't get my free time because it's my job, but I think I can speak from the colleagues I have as trustees, what did they get out of it? And so obviously there is that they get the chance to say they were a trustee or ran a working group on their CV, which is always great. But you also get the social kudos that you are seen by the rest of the community as having given your time and energy to something and achieved something. So everyone gets to know your name a little bit, and you feel like you belong even more in the community. And you can come into the trustees board or volunteers and launch a new initiative. So Anya Brown is just launching the mentoring program, the mentoring scheme that she's been working on for a whole year. It's fantastic legacy. She'll leave that for other RSCs to get involved in, and hopefully it will go beyond a pilot scheme. And then obviously loads of new skills. So if you join in and you're fairly junior RSC, and you get loads of new skills joining in with working groups.
And Jan?
Yeah, so the thing is, I believe if you start and ask yourself, okay, what do I get out if I spend my time on that's probably not the right approach, in the sense that I guess all of us who are spending time are doing that because they believe that this kind of community is somehow worth the effort. But I think similar to what Claire just said, you might get some things out of it which you don't expect. So for instance, I was involved in the organization of the first German conference, RSE conference, and I was doing that because I was doing it mainly for the community. But at the end, having this conference and also hosted at my home institution, it led to the situation that the conference itself ended up as one of the top 10 achievements over the last 7 years of the Institute in our evaluation report. And this was then at the end, this was something I didn't expect, but this was then again helping me within my institute to basically promote the case of RSEs and make my life easier. So I would say it's not clear what kind of outputs you get, but it's very likely that it increases your visibility at some points and helps you then with your own work.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose, yeah, sometimes the sort of benefits aren't instantly tangible, I suppose. And Sandra?
Yeah, and I think part of it is also that I think it's exciting that it goes for a cultural change in academia. So I talked also with a couple, not only a couple, a lot of people recognize that there is this mismatch of having a real career path for people, or having, and being part of this group that is like really changing academic culture. And we all know how slow that is normally. So it's nice to be part of this movement where people recognize, oh, maybe in 10 years, it's really that, children in high school say, oh yeah, I want to become a research software engineer. That would be cool.
Yeah, that's
very quick, just quickly. I think that is something similar I heard from many people anyway, where they join the community, whether in a leading role or not. But this feeling of having found my tribe and the people that understand what I'm doing and that I can talk to differently than to my colleagues at the home institution. And this is something that I heard very often from people.
Definitely, it's nice to find like-minded people, and especially because I find the same. I'd love to be in academia, but code was always, same as Ian. I think like code was always the favorite part of my PhD. So, and I'd just like to ask Ian Cottam to talk about a bit about this point, because I think, as you said, you recently retired, Ian, and sort of came back and now working more for the society.
Yes, that's right. Yes, so I I'd just be pottering around in the garden, wouldn't I, if I didn't do this work? So that's what I get out of it. No, I mean, I love being a research software engineer. I think on and off over the last 48 years, I've done similar roles before it had a name. I was very pleased to end up in my last job with that title of Senior Research Software Engineer, and latterly to run the group at Manchester, which is now one of the largest groups in the UK. So I certainly got a lot out of it. And I think what I'd like to do now is just try to improve things for RSEs, encourage people to get involved. Please sign up. It's only £20. I know it sounds a lot to some people, but compared to what you pay for some other professional societies, it's very cheap. That's it. Thanks.
And maybe we can strong arm someone into sending out some nice little ID cards, little cards. No.
Well, Claire? I'm told it's already on the agenda for our next board meeting.
Excellent. Okay. If anyone else going to add to this point, James, do you have anything? You sort of giving it between time starters. It's an RSC group in its infancy, I suppose, in Shanghai.
We have not yet to start around the chapters in Shanghai. Yeah, but we have a plan to do so. Yeah.
Okay, great, excellent. Yeah, I'm sure everyone here will be quite happy to, if you have any more questions or anything, so you'll be able to contact anyone here. When you get to start up the chapter. Okay, so one more. Oh yes, so it's about 10 to. Let's go for one more question. Let's have a look. Do you have anyone who's paid the admin general support fee? What is the most pressing challenge for your chapter? I'll go for this one, I think. What is the current most pressing challenge facing your chapter today? What is the one thing you want to fix this year? Radovan? To pick on you.
Yes, I think challenge number one. Well, first of all, we will go through a couple of administrative steps, but they will work out. But what will be great to fix is to improve outreach, to really reach more people and get the information about all these cool things that are happening, not only in our associations, but also in other associations, to improve this communication up and down.
Yeah. Sorry, Jan?
Yeah, I think it's similar in Germany. I would say it's outreach, basically reaching the people in Germany, but also basically in the other direction for us to learn about who is currently working in, let's say, RSE-like positions. So I mean, we started to collecting an overview about RSE-like groups in Germany, and really getting a better impression of where the people are sitting and how we can reach them. That's the goal which we are currently targeting at.
Excellent. Can I ask Felix to go next?
I would say our most pressing challenge as a local chapter mostly is when it comes to picking projects that will have a significant impact so we can justify our existence in 2 to 3 years. We've been working hard and just working with the researchers, helping them like refine their ideas about projects so that are valuable to confine to our team. And like we're hoping for home runs, right? If I want to do baseball analogies, but these are not easy they did not come by easy. And unless we are able to do some home runs by the end of 2 years, I think we can kiss our funding goodbye. So our most pressing challenge is to actually find like those rough diamond that just need to be polished by our software team and ship something that will accelerate research.
Oh, definitely. I was just going to translate the home run into knocking it for 6, but that's probably limited to Britain, really, and wouldn't really translate for the rest of the world. Sorry. So moving on to Ian. Ian Cotton, I think you had your hand up first.
Yeah, hi. So a personal one, first of all, is I think it would be nice to grow the number of people who are paid up members of the society. And one reason I think that is if you go to parts of industry and you say, we'd like to have a partnership with you to do some exciting things, and you give us some things, we'll give you some things back. And they say to you, how many members have you got? And if you say, we've got 25, they say, oh, that's not very interesting. Now, so at the moment in the UK, we've got just over 500. So it's growing, but I have a feeling that, if we could say we had 1,000 paid up members, industry would take a much, stronger interest in us. Say a personal thing. I can see on my other screen from one of my other trustee colleagues that there's been a few suggestions. So they've included things like understanding the full diversity of what an RSE is, from the, if you like, the two extremes of someone who's a researcher but writes code to the somebody who works like I used to do for IT services, but is part of a research computing section that then, goes out to work for research groups, and everything in between. Generating money, which would be a side effect of me having 1,000 members, I suppose. Matt's mentioned always being able to run a conference, and not to mention the fact that some of the trustees do spend an awful lot of time doing things. So we need to address that, really. Should we have more trustees? Should we pay people to help us? Claire pointed out she's the only person who's sort of paid to do this as her job, really, at the moment. But maybe we could afford to have more. I think that's about it. There were probably some other suggestions, but they've scrolled off my screen, so I'll stop there.
No, I think those are really good points, and especially with the it's funny, isn't it, the sort of the threshold between hundreds and 1,000. It sounds very different. So yeah, it could be definitely worthwhile. I think Ian Cosden is next.
Yep. So I probably will reiterate what Ian said. It's finding a sustainable governance group of people or model by which the organization can continue to grow. So whether that's relying entirely on volunteers or whether that's finding some kind of sustainable funding to pay people to run the organization. But we're reaching the point where there are reoccurring costs, there's recurring effort that needs to be done, and relying on people's free time, it is dangerous. It's people's free time disappears, or they move, or they do other things. And so to the one thing we fixed this year was we did find a way that we can have a bank account and fiscal sponsorship, so we can be an official nonprofit entity and accept money, which is a step in the right direction.
Excellent. And I think we are getting to the end of if anyone would like to add something else in the 2 minutes I think we've got left, if anyone would like to, a nice little 30-second soundbite from Carlos or someone maybe.
I just want to say that thank you to all the chapters around the world. It's been really interesting to hear what everybody has to say, the different challenges, the similarities in the challenges, and the similarities with the challenges we also mentioned this morning. So it's really interesting, really great, and yes, let's continue to collaborate together and to work together in making science better
basically.
Yes, definitely. Hopefully we can get some sort of RSE Worldwide something in the, I'll talk to Sandra and Shashank, maybe we'll send you all another email sometime soon about something coming up. We'll see about that. I think there's been such good interest in it. It's been really nice. So yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming. Thank you to all our panelists and people who have attended. Yeah, it's been a really good 2 sessions. So yeah, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Gareth. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Thank you.